I'm into I'm into a field which is insurance industry, wherein you don't get results every day, and it's a very long drawn process, and which creates a lot of stress. By doing meditation, the stress level became zero.
After doing this course, I've learned a lot of things. I've started being very calm. When I get up, usually I would be like very tense, a lot of stress. But now when I get up, I have always a smile on my face. I always have a positive word when I get up. That is the best thing which I experience every morning now after doing meditation.
I've been struggling for past 5 to 6 years, because of our belief systems. There wasn't clarity about certain important decisions that I had to make in my life. And during this 40 days, I realized that this is it. And I think I'm able to make that decision. So I'm very, very grateful for that clarity.
For me, meditation has been that thing that calmed my mind, cleansed me out of those fears of anxiety of the future, right? And also helped me connect to my intuition. We all call meditation is not a technique, meditation is a practice.
I was not able to sleep and I wake up in between my sleep. But yesterday, when I meditate before sleeping, it was a very peaceful sleep. Like my overthinking is decreasing day by day. I think positive in every aspect. I have an anxiety issue earlier, but now it decreases.
Happy morning, dear friends and masters. Great afternoon, evening. We're at the midway of this program. We said in the beginning that meditation builds layers and layers and layers of benefits. There are several circles of benefits that meditation brings. Now, many, and even now regularly when I meet, people think they know meditation, and that is for, just calming ourselves. I get peace of mind. Beyond that, they wouldn't even explore, they wouldn't know to explore. That's useful in a real estate conflict, that it can help me actually solve the deal there. Rather than going to courts or helplessly giving up things, meditation can help me there. You can't even imagine that it is possible. That if I'm not succeeding in my corporate life, it would be because of something fundamentally wrong in the way I am dealing with maybe a specific section of individuals. Because in an area of managing my emotion, I lose out, I don't bother, so that this happens. Meditation can help there. I won't know. Manifestation to realize my dreams is nowhere understood by anyone, and most people. First of all, we don't know what meditation is, but we use the word meditation. Yeah, I know meditation. Because used naturally, right? Dhyan karo. Okay, so I know dhyan. Close your eyes and dhyan is done. That is dhyan. But when meditation, which is to transcending your body, letting go of yourself, when meditation is properly practiced, which means letting go of yourself for however minutes that is, and for as many minutes as possible, for as long as possible in any given day, then all these benefits, whether explained or not explained, slowly and slowly accrue. Everything will come. Now, those who are here halfway through, midway through, and the new ones, I'm sure majority would have noticed something. It may not be what you want, but it is something else you notice. Majority. If you're not done, if you're not noticing, rare cases possible, but we have to ask ourselves, am I sincere enough? Regular. If you're not noticing, then are you regular? Have you attended at least 80% of the sessions? 1-2 sessions per week here and there is okay, but regularly are you maintaining it? Ask yourself. Now, part of it is this environment constantly is the initial phase of breaking out of this old self, we call it, breaking the habit of being the old self. Means constantly think the old way, act the old way. The old self, which is triggered through environment. You may think you will sit down for meditation, but then your carpooling person is saying all of those you can do another time. Why are you doing it in the morning? It disturbs me. Come. Their environment triggered and say, okay, that's true. Because they don't know importance. They're going to tell you that all of this one later you can do. But carpooling, come, let's go today. But that's easily somebody can break, but they don't want to break a carpooling. Thinking that is it, that without that the ride and then the time is, it probably takes another 15, 20 minutes extra. But they lose an important opportunity here. But the prioritization not there because we think the old way, because our subconscious is telling that's more important than meditation. We cannot even have the circuit of meditation in our subconscious. Initially, it is difficult to transition. The environment is constantly pushing us to behave the old way, take the old decisions, take the old routes. And so the regularity is being missed. But for this, the more you understand the neuroscience, the brain's learning, and which is called learning, doing, being, the more you will be inspired and say, okay, so I've got, my brain has got, my subconscious has got a grip on me. The conscious mind is consciously, if it does things, then you are able to consciously do things that you want. The conscious mind needs to become active more and more, or the subconscious needs to act for you in a way that you'd like your life to be. Because subconscious simply is the gateway which is beautifully set up to take care of you, your interests, the way you programmed it. The operating system is programmed for a certain thing. The red color, this screen's white color, all of it, things that I've been thinking about, feeling about over and over have been programmed into the subconscious. I like these people, so I'd like to spend time here. I don't like this environment, this is too difficult. When we are programmed our subconscious like this, and when we see that kind of environment, we immediately don't feel good, so move away from it. When you're driving and you see a certain kind of environment, you program subconscious that before you even make a decision, it already made you to turn away from there and then go. And so we need to understand the science a little more. That can help one way. And you're having that help you to say, okay, my subconscious is sort of is the one which has got the grip on me. I need to look at it and say, change that. We said that in the beginning. Meditation is for shifting the mindset. And then I need to have the right knowledge and wisdom so that my conscious mind draws from the right wisdom and knowledge and then knows how to create more newer experiences. So there's an understanding of learning to doing to being, how a learning is happening and why we start, but then it takes time for us to become something. It takes time for us to become something. Driving takes time for us to become a good driver, an expert driver. But initially it is a struggle. So a struggle, but however, we're inspired by a cause, and so then when we take up driving course, then we don't give up in the middle. Many issues come, but then we don't give up in the middle. Sometimes we make a plan to complete the driving course no matter what comes by carefully planning, because we have paid money, we have got some business travel which requires you to learn driving, whatever, there is an inspired reason. It could be that money is the reason. It could be business travel. It could be a significant personal requirement. Your 2 members becoming 3, so you need a vehicle now, so you need to learn. Whatever may be the motivation, but you're completing it, but even though the challenges come in between, but then the driving which starts as learning becomes, sooner you become a driver. Once you become a driver, you don't have to, it's already there, and so then it drives your mind, your subconscious program is there to drive. Meditation skill too is the same. It requires sufficient commitment in the beginning, like a driving skill. It is difficult to understand, like a driving, that, okay, we understand occasion skill, so I need to give time. For meditation, we need to give time. It is difficult. People do not get this aspect. And so then 1 day, 3 days, 5 days later, we expect result doesn't come, so slowly wanes away. The inspiration is not there, motivation is not strong enough. And so then we miss, regularity is missed. So when we take a strong enough motivation, we have sufficiently, reasonably strong inspiration for us to take up meditation, or have sufficiently inspired friends around us. And when we understand the science of learning to doing to being, or the science of how our brain is learning, and so then what causes us to change to be different, when you have at least that knowledge, then we sure are in meditation, and we sure are then slowly are reaping the benefits of meditation as we become more regular about it. We've concluded. Week 1 was about nuance of meditation. What is meditation? What happens? The brain waves, regularity, the books that are important, books that are required to be read, we gave in week 1. All of these are recordings available. And then week 2, we said, is around physical and mental health. So in many ways, we spoke around how meditation is reducing stress, improving mental well-being, and then very important concept of energy enhancements. The mindful activities of thinking, speaking, sleeping, mindful work, very briefly. But the big things are mindful speaking. And then we said work alignment. So week 2 is about physical and mental. we call physical and mental well-being, a physical quotient, intelligence quotient, increasing our abilities and all of it in week 2. Week 3, then based on the foundation of that, then if we're getting some reasonably good health and we feel good about ourselves, feel energetic, and start thinking about wanting to do many things and such about manifestation. We call it manifestation. Only when we feel good a little bit about ourselves, then we want to do things more. We want to go for a movie, we want to do this, we want to pursue back our studies because now we have confidence that, okay, I can go back and then do that diploma or degree that I halfway through stopped. I can go and then do it again. So we talked about manifestation, channelizing our energy and thought and towards things that we really love to have in our life. Now, as we are in our path to manifest, which means we engage back in life again to work with people together, because in manifestations, many times you're dealing with most of the experience are about dealing with people. And so emotional intelligence, our ability to work with people, our ability to be in friendly nature with people, is the summary of emotional intelligence that meditation is significantly enhancing, is the focus for the current week. Our meditation is increasing, in psychologist terms, intelligence in the way we handle our emotions. Emotions expressing seriously is never wrong. Expressing anger is never wrong. Expressing beautiful, an attachment-based love to somebody is never wrong. But everything has to be there, but they're not there. They need to be done at the right way, time, to the right level, and then we need to pull back. This is where we falter. The way we falter. And meditation, because of this awareness that it is building, is significantly helping us to check and then regulate our emotion. Not only that, as our emotions are being regulated, we develop some fundamental emotions like confidence and positivity in us, balance in us, that leads us towards several qualities in the way we deal with people, the way we deal with ourselves. And a lot of that is called emotional intelligence. And so we're going to learn that and see how meditation is enhancing emotional intelligence. And what are the ways, what are some fundamental principles like 4 agreements, which can change our lives. We can change our lives. For some, it is simply health that's just not there. For some, that relationship is just not there. And a peace of mind is never there if we do not have some basics that are missing in our life, in some relationships, wherever we are. And so this week, we are going to focus on that foundation for emotional intelligence and a lot, and many other things, is a concept of learning, doing, being that we'll go through post meditation. Relax yourself, sit comfortably, relax your body, dear friends. Going into breath meditation, we practice breath mindfulness meditation. Our goal is to rest the mind, and we do this by observing our natural breath with our eyes closed. Sit down as you see in the picture, on the floor in the chair. Cross your feet at ankle, across your legs on the floor, fingers into fingers, hands in your lap, rested comfortably, closing your eyes. If you're wearing glasses, remove them. And then observe your natural breath. And slowly your mind becomes thoughtless, goes into emptier states. Thoughts come down, mind becomes calmer. Be in that state. In case you are getting thoughts and you keep noticing thoughts, then you go back to observing the breath and continue the process once again. This is called breath meditation, and we do this by spending maximum time. Before we do this process, we do a process called heart elevation for a few minutes. That helps us to make our breath meditation very conducive. Relax yourself. So eyes closed, dear friends. Relax your body. Scan your body from head to toe. Relax. Dear friends, with your specs removed, eyes closed, with your hands on your chest area, resting your attention on your sacred heart, can you feel your loving heart? Feel the seat of all emotions. With a slow, relaxing breath, connect with your heart center, dear friends, the center of all your emotions, nurturing all life. With its energies of love, compassion, gratitude. Can you recollect an experience or simply imagine yourself experiencing a higher emotion of love, of joy, gratitude from your past, from your present, or imagining. And elevate yourself with that energy, with that emotions of love. The more you experience this energy, higher vibrations of love, compassion, the more one you become, coherent you become in your mind and body. Feel relive that moment. Feel that energy. And slowly, let's go into breath mindfulness meditation. With your fingers into fingers, hands comfortably rested in your lap. Observe your normal, natural in-breath and the out-breath. We are in a powerful group meditation. When you observe your breath, your mind slowly becomes empty. As your mind is becoming empty, allow yourself to experience that greater calmness, emptiness. Allow yourself to merge into your breath and allow yourself to experience that emptiness, that greater calmness. All emptiness is energy. The field of limitless possibilities. The longer you stay aware of this emptiness, the more possibilities you draw into your life. If you find yourself distracted in thought, go back to observing your breath. Merge into the emptiness of yourself. Your divine intelligence. The longer you stay aware of this emptiness, the more intuitive you become. friends is truly an honor and privilege. To be exploring consciousness, to be experiencing this life at this time of history. Many are not so blessed. Can you express gratitude to all things and everyone in your life? Your family, your friends, your colleagues, your relatives. Be grateful to this grand nature, the bird, the fish and the animals. To everything you use, the technology, the system, the company, the governments. To yourself and to this intelligent universe. Gratitude is the ultimate state of receivership. Recollect your experiences from the session. And whenever you're ready, you can keep your hands on your eyes for 5 seconds and then open your eyes. Okay, dear friends. Hope you enjoy the session. Let's understand the concept of emotional intelligence and see how our brain learning is playing a role. This whole emotional intelligence. What is emotional intelligence? How is meditation impacting? And then this learning is how it's slowly causing us to change. They are fundamental. These are very, very fundamental. Like the quantum physics aspects that we learned are very fundamental. Meditation, because it's making us become everything that exists out there. So we also go into the fundamentals. So let me put up a few charts. We'll make an attempt here to connect emotional intelligence, meditation, and quantum physics. And then depending on how much time left, we'll get to the learning, doing, being concept. If not, we're going to split that into next day. Emotional intelligence in technical terms, two clear aspects. One is what psychologists call 5 areas: self-awareness, regulation, empathy, motivation, and social skills. Awareness is awareness about your current thought, reaction, emotion, everything that is you're going through at the moment, about yourself or about everybody around you, right? Just knowing what's happening is awareness, which we have been talking about. Then having awareness, so then of course you choose differently. A response is different. When you have awareness, then you have regulation naturally. When you go to an airport to check in, and suddenly, at the airport, the flight attendant is telling you a flight is cancelled. So you have two choices: shout at the attendant or calm down to see that attendant cannot do anything, and so do something that is more meaningful right now, to look at how to book for the next flight, or simply just relax and see, cancel the trip or whatever. So regulation happens. That is regulation. When you have regulation. Third is empathy. Empathy is, of course, understanding others in their point of view, not your point of view. Always look from people from your point, your lens. Now, empathy is wearing their lens. Motivation is, they are part of emotional intelligence. Motivation. Now, everything is around, the emotional intelligence is about how you can engage with people beautifully in life. Motivation is motivation, and social skills are ability, for example, if you are dealing with conflicts, if you have social skills, you can sit down there. If you are mediating and you have good social skills, you become a mediator. So even though different parties say different things, and then sometimes the parties are also hurling things at the mediator has got this great social skill to convince all parties, bring them to the common thread. So they're all come under this emotional intelligence, how you are balancing emotions and reading and then responding. The second element of that is leadership. Our leadership qualities enhance in the way you deal with people and situations and organizationally. Your decision making is attributed to a lot of good emotional intelligence. The reason that's why when you have good emotional intelligence is when you are growing in corporate ladder, growing in life, not necessarily high IQ you possess. Now, what is meditation? That the way we understood is a technology for development of self. Meditation is a process for building awareness. Meditation is building calmness, clarity, empathy, and focus. Meditation in the second week, I have not learned, meditation is reducing the amygdala activity. There is a center in subconscious brain called amygdala, which is emotion center. One of the little areas in the subconscious mind or the limbic brain is called amygdala. It shrinks, they notice the amygdala is shrinking in its size. Amygdala activity, which is emotional activity, and then a lot of it is around fears. And they notice with meditation, it reduces, that activity reduces, the fear center size is shrinking for meditators. So when these are happening, of course, the meditation is naturally developing an individual. Then quantum physics that we have said, the observer effect, observation manifests possibilities. Somebody is influencing the reality with observation. Now, according to the quantum physics theory, we also learned everything is energy and vibration. Everything is energy. All that is an energy. So now we look at emotions as energy, which is energy in motion is emotion, as energy by default, and the low emotion to high emotion. High emotions, we said guilt, we said love, gratitude, compassion, joy, friendliness, adventure, wholeness, oneness, bliss, all these states. Didn't read a book by David Hawkins, Power versus Force, talking about these emotional states and then different scores for each emotion. So there are higher emotions means they have higher score. The lower emotions like guilt and separation have low score. One drains energy, another enhances energy. That's sort of how you have to look at it. So emotion is simply an energy state, your state. According to quantum physics, it's just another frequency, another energy. It is there. Energy is vibration, and so it is simply a different frequency. So now the observer effect is saying that when you observe, on whatever you observe is becoming reality. So because of this, then we understood that with visualizations, we go into higher emotion, we create higher reality. So this is a slide that I put up last week, talking about everything as energy is one, not separate, connected. So we have many possibilities to become matter. Observation manifests possibilities into matter. So when you see emotions as energy, and which means an energy is becoming matter, and so which means when we change our energy, means when we change our emotion, and which is what we are talking about in visualization. And so matter is created. So there's quantum physics, seeing it everything as energy. There's meditation, which seems like ease, shifting the way your emotion is expressed. And emotional intelligence is to shifting essentially your energy to an appropriate thing so you have a great outcome. So the three things come together as a triangle of conscious evolution. Emotional intelligence is that energy management, because emotions are energy, so it's mastering your energy is an energy management. And meditation with that awareness manage that energy. And then quantum physics is simply that energy that I'm saying I'm that energy. Up to you how you want to utilize that energy. So in science terms, it's all energy as per quantum physics. Energy becomes matter physical through sufficient observation. And meditation, which manage this energy beautifully, and hence, you become a conscious creator when these three things come together. Where awareness is there in each of us, and where you understand that emotions well and say what emotions to be into. How do I master that emotion in our day-to-day life? Understanding this knowledge of emotional intelligence, if we have, and then you simply, with awareness, where this knowledge that you have, which is called emotional intelligence, which is in the 5 areas of self-awareness, expression, empathy, and all of those areas that you're going to cover later this week. When you have those awareness of mastering your emotions, knowledge of mastering the emotions, and meditation, building that awareness to apply the knowledge beautifully, and then simply you are then shifting your energy. And so you're creating a new reality as per the quantum physics principle. Without meditation, a lot of knowledge of what is the right thing to do is there. When a colleague giving you a nasty feedback, what to do? Maybe you've gone through a session in a corporate training, but then you don't remember. Even if you remember, you can't apply it because your subconscious already taking over your response. You know this. And so only when we have awareness, and when awareness is sufficiently built, nothing happens overnight. And so this is a triangle. When awareness is there, of course, then you are able to apply it. And so this triangle it is complete when meditation is added. Knowing that it's all energy, I want us to understand, knowing that all energy, fundamental. Emotions are energy, our life experience are energy. And so first knowing that the quantum physics terms, and it's coming based on an observation. The more I am unhappy about a person, the more I'm attracting that emotion, creating that emotion through that person to me. Because quantum physics is saying that your energy is becoming matter through your observation. So you're putting a lot of observation on how worse this person is. And so to prove that that person has to show up in all emotions that make it worse for us. That's the whole idea. So this triangle is really beautiful, very complete, dear friends, where we become a conscious creator of experience of life, because all experience are energy. There's simply some kind of an emotion that is being fulfilled for us. And so with meditation, by understanding this emotional intelligence beautifully, we become a conscious creator. But there is a basis. Our brain is into 3 areas, which we put up this picture briefly, maybe earlier. The big part of the brain here, the outer one, which is this peach color one, is called the neocortex, or the human brain. Learning brain. And the middle yellow one is called the limbic system, is the doing brain. And the small tiny part, which is connected to his vertebra, is the reptilian complex, and the scientific terms is called the being brain. conscious mind, subconscious mind. Unconscious means, in medical terms, it's different, but unconscious means you are that. By default, you are that. Helping is your nature. You just don't even think that you are that. That helping nature is that. So you don't think and say something is there. It doesn't matter who that is. You just help. All right. It's called being. Being in a state. Always staying in calmness becomes your state. You are there in it. That's it. You don't do it. It's your second nature. Right? That's what we call being. Now, beautifully, our brain is set up in a way that from outer to inner, you go from learning, your thinking mode, you go all the way to the being state. This is how this whole we are set up. So, for every experience, this is talking about neuroscience, where the three brains are laid out in a way that every experience initially starts with learning, then practicing for some time, and then you're becoming off it. Practicing and becoming off it. How can I be very friendly to a hostile boss? So that if I can develop friendship, if I can develop a considerate response to a hostile boss, then if you really believe in the previous slide that it's all energy that shifts, and so that if you are now observing a friendly response sufficiently long enough time to a hostile boss or a hostile family member, then if you sufficiently observe that response, then quantum physics terms, observer effects, then that must come true in that environment between those two people. So first of all, learning that with a hostile person, I can still be very considerate, be empathetic, is emotional intelligence to be. You learn that and then you practice it sufficiently. You practice it sufficiently for this. This is where your subconscious is helping to do it over and over and over. And then eventually you go into that state where even if tough people are coming into our lives, then we're not creating conflicts with them. Instead, with our friendly, calming, considerate response to them, that we're able to then shift their energy. And so then automatically you see at least a different nature from the person to you. It happens. That's why some people are nice to some and not nice to other, is because of the energy. So let me explain a little bit, and then what happens in case of, it's called an amygdala attack, in case of a hostile person that you are meeting. It could be your boss, it could be a colleague, it could be a family member or a community neighbor, somebody who is challenging to deal with. So if that hostile person is needing, it could be a family member. There's a constant tussle between different dynamics of their families. So an amygdala hijack an example is that when that person is approaching, suppose a boss is coming and they're shouting. Obviously, that day must have been really bad. And so coming forward and then shouting. So this thalamus From ear, you hear the sound, and then, of course, that thing goes in. And thalamus is ultimately processes. Thalamus is part of the subconscious. It processes and then takes and says somebody shouting. Of course, the eye is also seeing, and then say he is aggressively walking and coming towards you. And so he's saying he's coming very aggressively. Then your brain, which is the neocortex, the frontal area of the brain, is telling it's okay, no problem. That's your boss. You handled this before, you can handle it again. But then in the meanwhile, in case if there is a second and a third dialogue is made by your boss in this case, more strongly, and then there is one more response that is given further by the ears and then eyes. They are essentially saying, because it's a physical danger, at this point they're sensing a danger, potentially, as they saw that they're coming fast, they're saying a few things. And when that is seen, and imagine that you are actually watching this, right? You are your boss strolling down the aisles fast, saying that, no, hey, guys, this is something very bad happened, whatever, like this. And so then eyes and ears are responding and then sending signal, but the sending signals are scary signals based on the past, what has happened. That is the essence of this slide. And then when that happens, your subconscious is taking over, where there is something called amygdala, because the conscious mind is saying, no worries, I'll try to see what we can do here in this case. Maybe there is some issue, but then before it can come to your terms and then give a response, your amygdala, which is then subconscious, takes charge and says, you have very less time right now. You just have to jump in and do an action. Respond right now. Don't think, no time to think. And as a result, the amygdala, which is the emotion center, which is drawing from the experience that are stored recently or in the situations, and then immediately respond. The response could be that before even your boss comes near, you would have immediately left the room through another back door. Possible. What is happening here? Meditation, if you look at the picture first in this, the amygdala, which is the subconscious mind action, without meditation, is directly the response is an unconscious reaction, because you are simply going by the whatever happened in the past. Whereas with meditation, your control is with the conscious brain. Meditation allows neural rewiring between amygdala and prefrontal cortex. And as a result, the prefrontal cortex is the frontal cortex is this brain here, your CEO of the brain. And prefrontal cortex is an area behind that, which is responsible for increasing situation awareness, enhances. And when that happens, automatically you have control with your conscious brain. Your conscious mind has a control. When the conscious mind has a control, you have a more conscious response. The subconscious mind has control, which means you're bypassing the conscious mind. Then it is simply taking what is stored from the past as a behavior. And so past behavior is immediately expressed here And so then you go through an unconscious reaction of running away, for example, or an unconscious reaction of fighting it back. You stiffen up yourself, and then immediately fighting back to your boss and saying, whatever, okay, let me be ready. Now he's ready to say something to me, I'm going to say something back to him. That's your unconscious reaction. Conscious reaction is, let me wait to see. Maybe he's in a bad mood. Maybe I know that no, he's going through so many things. Maybe it is my mistake, but whatever, there is a different way of dealing and saying, let me wait. And that's because the conscious mind is in control. Conscious mind, the CEO, is always looking to make us be successful. Now, why is this learning and doing and being coming into picture? So learning to doing to being, to understand that briefly, neuroscience, we understand a little bit of neuroscience. What this is saying is that there are billions of neurons in our brain, and they all are connecting to each other constantly. And a neuron is this, which got these spokes. And so there is a central thing, and then there are spokes. There are all connections. So each neuron connects with another neuron with these spokes. And each neuron can connect to another neuron up to other neurons up to 100,000. So there are many, many connections intricately are formed. You know what these connections are? For example, if you learn, in this case, this boss's case of it, you have one event. Every time you learn something, you experience something, you read up, or in this case, two people meet, your boss and you met first time, okay, there is a memory. Suddenly a whole bunch of connections are formed to form a memory. Then another boss, you have interaction, another person, there's a memory. But if these two are bosses, now you make something out of it. So there is a connection, cross connection between your first one and the second one because they are bosses. You make a connection about, these two are very nice managers. Like my previous manager. You make that connection with the first one here. You met a manager 5 years ago, you made some connections in your brain. Then when you meet another manager like the first one, then you'll go and make connections to the first part of brain that was there in the beginning when you made 5 years ago, connecting to that. They're made like that so that we can draw many, many connections to different things of life. The neuroscience here is that every time you learn something, you make connections in neurons, neural connections. Every time you repeat it, the connections become stronger and stronger. So learning is new connections. Memory is stronger long-term connection. So you learn something, you forming connections. Now you repeat it, then you form more connections, repeat it, more connections, repeat more connections. And so now you know, because you read, you by-hearted tables, you had to repeat it so many times. We hated it in our childhood, but then they are there forever because we never forget. Is because of this process that we repeated. Now imagine and start thinking about applying this to the concept of, when you repeat the same thing over and over with people that we notice and see every day, it becomes such a strong connection in our brain again and again and again. And it becomes stronger and stronger connection. If the connections are too strong, to snap them take time. To snap those connections take time. So if two people had too much of stuff going on, and then the connection has become so strong and not necessarily in a good way, and then to change that, it takes time. Because you have a thin, you have a thread to cut the thread, it takes in no time. But a thread has become a big giant rope. No, it takes time. It takes time to cut the rope and then rewire the rope into something else. It takes a lot more time to make a better, different type of relationship there. And relationship is nothing but a whole set of experiences. It means that a whole set of connections formed, right? So the learning is new connections, memory is strong long-term connection. Now, when you store something as text in brain, it needs very less connections because textual forms require very less connection. Like phone numbers, that's why it's difficult to remember phone numbers when you read them as simple text. You read them, okay, one time reading is not sufficient. You got to read so many times. These days, we lost their track of how to even remember a phone number. Simple phone numbers, difficult to remember. Now, what do people do? We'll try to create some pattern. So we're trying to associate something extra. We're making it little visual. I've got, you give a picture to visual. So you're trying to give a story around it, a pattern around it. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sequence is there. You're putting a visual to that. Okay, it's a sequence, means that in your mind, it's all continuous things. So that visual, when it's added, is a visual takes many connections suddenly in your brain. And if we add a feeling, then the number of connections required to learn for the same information is a lot more. So the brain is learning constantly. Text, it forms less connection. Visuals, it makes many connections. Feeling, it makes many connections to learn. So suppose if you learning apple is red, to a kid, you say apple is red, boring. They won't remember anything because it hardly forms few connections. But then apple is red. When apple is red, what comes to our mind? That picture, beautiful picture that we all have seen in the childhood comes. So because that picture is captured, because it is there, many connections. Connections are there, and many connections are the apple is red with the picture. Now imagine apple is red, not only the picture, but somebody is actually shot a tree apple beautifully from an apple tree and then did a three-dimensional going around the apple, that camera shoot going, that shininess of it. And then somebody takes a bite, and the ads they show that sound comes, cluck, and then that person gives that expression in the face. Imagine all of that you are seeing when on the screen apple is red is written for you. Now see how much memory is formed. You have billions of connections. Think of it as, when text is red, apple is red, you simply, let's say you formed hundreds of connections. Then apple is red, a visual picture you're seeing, then it is a million connections. When you're seeing as a not a visual picture, but instead a movie with a feeling, a short 30-second movie clipping, and a clipping is shown to you, video clipping, then it is a billion connections. So now emotions, in the context of emotional intelligence, now these are all like videos, they are strong visuals. Isn't it? Emotions are strong, experiences that contain emotions are visuals, super visuals. All right, they are so powerful than movies. That means they're formed with billions of connections in there. All right. Now, this session, something to be used. Now, I want to bring this to this understanding of our brain is learning text to with feeling. When you have feelings, when you have emotions attached, then your learning is a lot more deeper. That means you're getting a stronger connection in there. All right. So this is a reason for you to apply towards visualization. Visualization works great where you want your brain to work with a lot more memory. They're getting stored for you, whatever that you're wishing as your new experience, so that it goes in and then records. And you repeat it a few times, then you're recording it so deeply that it goes as a subconscious long-term memory. with a lot many connections, because brain loses cells and so it loses memory. When it loses cells, loses memory, if 10% of the cell are lost and the result text, then you can't retrieve it. But if it is imagination, visualization, then that experience is deeply recorded, even the cells are lost. And so then your brain is always working for you, and then the memory is serving beautifully there. And so simply affirming doesn't stay because it doesn't stick. Whereas a visual sticks very well as you're keeping a lot of memory used for you. Now, from a visualization perspective, but from emotional intelligence perspective and a learning, doing, being, when you have a boss who has been very hostile for you and has been there with you for a long time, and so you already have this huge emotional big rope that is tied about, okay, this person is hostile, is always going to be like this. Now you come into meditation. You're learning now, any hostile person also, with awareness, I can just step back and stay calm. And if I stay calm, automatically that person will lose the power. So let's say calmness is how it's going to shift emotions. And then you're learning that your friend has told you, you know what, there is this book which says that just stay calm. And then at the end of everything, you acknowledge the feeling and say, it's okay, I understand that things are really bad. Maybe I've done this, maybe I've not, but let me see how I can help. And that book says that, just simply stay calm and then acknowledge the feeling first. Don't say anything. And your friend tells you, I tried it, and okay, I tried, it's great. It worked for me, and I was really felt good about it. Then you also learn this, and then there's a lot of things that we're learning here in this class, and you want to apply them. And so your boss is there, coming, charging at you. Your meditation awareness is there. Before meditation, of course, you would have just immediately, you would have shouted back and said, you don't know what you're doing, whatever, all that. But then here, you have awareness. With that awareness, that prefrontal cortex wiring has happened. So suddenly, when your amygdala wants to take over, but since you have the awareness with which your conscious brain is trying to tell you, you know what, today, rather than doing that, just wait and be calm. Because that conscious mind has control and then pulls the response and says, be calm and just wait. And says, okay, so you wait. And today you wait. And then your boss came and then you're calm. When you're calm, your boss, whatever you have to say, is said. And then suddenly he just doesn't know what to do because you didn't respond the way you normally respond. And he also calms down. Because normally you would have said something for them to continue. Then he also calms down. Then in that calming down, then of course, then your conscious response is telling that acknowledge the feeling, okay, whatever has happened, no problem. So I can help look at it. Good. So one time you responded differently, and so now you formed a new circuit of calm response, a new circuit you formed. But this new circuit you formed first time, one time it got into some connections. Now over a period of time with your boss, what you've done, it is like a big rope, whereas this new circuit of calming response is a thin thread right now, one time. So is it good enough that when you just do one time, you still have a very thin thread about this thing, whereas about a calming response, whereas a aggressive response is already there as a thick rope in your brain. It's not dissolved yet. It's the old one is still very strongly there. You have not activated an aggressive response to make that stronger. Instead, you created a new response called calming response. A new thread, a new rope is formed now between you and this entity. What is dominant? Dominant is this big rope is dominant. This is very minor. So doing one time is not sufficient. You got to do it a second time. It's called doing. So learning, and then you learn the response, and then you got to do a second time to do, and then a similar situation, a second time happens. You be ready rather than thinking that, okay, I made the change, and so that he will react nicely. He may not react nicely again because it takes time. And so you be ready at a second time when he's coming. I don't know when that happens, the situation happens. But second time, you already have a small thread, and your meditation awareness is now giving a second time the similar response, and so you apply it again. Now you are building slowly a calming response into your brain. That circuit is thicker and thicker and thicker, those who have awareness. Those who don't have awareness are continuing to build the aggressive rope thicker and thicker. But here, on this side, you are making your calming response thicker on the and then you are making the more you fire your more you are responding through calming model, and so you're making these circuits bigger and bigger, and then the less number of times you fire and you stop firing the old circuits, they become weaker and weaker and weaker. There is a neuroscience principle, use it or lose it, so that goes away. And so, dear friends, once you learn about something, we got to practice it a few times. This calming response, you got to practice a few times before you expect a change. When you practice it a few times and few times and few times, now you are there with this new calming, empathetic response to the individuals. Now, no matter what happens, you are, first of all, expressing an empathetic response. And when you do, now you apply the quantum physics principle. What you observe is what you create more. And so when you do that, and automatically, then according to the quantum physics principle, now the other person automatically has to show up, because what you observe is what you create. What you have is what you allow others to have. You give what you have to others. And so when you have a lot of money, you give to others. When you have a lot of peace, you give a peace to others. And so others also will exhibit the peace. That's our manifestation principle, quantum physics principle, dear friends. So the triangle comes beautifully together, and the quantum physics, ultimately you meet that quantum physics principle after repeating it a few times, not just by doing once or twice. You expect a change in a relationship, you expect a change in the qualities of others. You got to remove that negative, the other rope that is there, the rope of aggressive response, and you got to build the rope of calming and acknowledging the emotion response. And you do this automatically. That means you're observing sufficient number of times. And you do this by practicing over and over and again. It's called doing. When you do it over time, dear friends, you become of it. When you become of it, then people around you also start shifting, and they also become of whatever that you have over a period of time. This is how the relationships change. This is how people and the environment changes for us. So thank you very much for understanding this important concept called learning, doing, being, where we learn something, and when we have awareness meditation added, we do it enough times to build it sufficiently, you become, and then become a new person. When we become a new person, others will become new person. Simple. We don't become new person because they become. Rather, we wait for them to become new, then we become new. No, instead we change, and so then they change automatically. And so this is a beginning for basis for relationships to change with meditation. So thank you very much, Lata madam.
Thank you so much, sir. We have announcement. Today night there is a book club at 8:15 p.m. to 9:15, and the book is Mind to Matter. And also, friends, today you will be getting a personal assessment too. Please fill them because you will understand how much you progressed. This is for your understanding itself. Please fill the survey and send it back. Thank you so much.
Thank you all. So this week, on this fundamental understanding of emotional intelligence, we will be covering in detail the cycle of emotions, the cycle of emotional intelligence, and then many other topics related to it. So thank you. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, hello friends and masters. That was a detailed session about emotional intelligence, and we will be covering and rehydrating on some of the concept what Chandra sir spoke whole of this week, and we will learn more about the pyramid power, and many topics will be covered since we are in week 4. Um, any questions or any sharings related to this, please raise your hand. And please do come forward and share your experience too. How is your meditation sessions going on? And how do you feel is the wisdom sessions helping you? And yes, just about your journey, you can just come forward and share. We would love to hear from you all. And since it was a detailed session, maybe it was a stretch for you all. So no issues. If there are any questions or you want to share tomorrow, we can take it up, friends. If not, if there is no more questions, we will wrap up the session for today. Yes, thank you, Sai Garu. Heartfelt gratitude to you all for joining us today. See you all tomorrow.
Everybody gets a heart. Everybody gets a soul. Everybody gets a mind to let them know that we can be smart, and we can be kind, and we can be living by giving and loving all the time. So on the days when